Welcome to RPG Book Club. On today's episode, we start a guerrilla marketing campaign for a game that won't come out for another 25 years.
Welcome to the RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
I am Sam Allman.
And I'm Michael Spiffle-Webbin.
I'm Michael Rodriguez. Hey.
Hey, look.
Yay! He's back! I'm
back.
so happy.
It's me.
Awful.
I've come back. I've come back ready with my sailor suit ironed and pressed, and
Sweet.
I have my tiara ready too. And so I'm excited to be here. I've played a lot of video games, and so yeah, it was my birthday this week. So I'm big ol'. I'm 28 years old. I'm a man.
You're the man now.
You're a
bro.
real boy now.
No, I'm glad to be back. This is gonna be a great game.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yes, I'm glad you're back too because, I've been super excited about playing this with you and getting to hear your perspective along with everybody else's. This is this game is a big part of my childhood, and so I'm really happy that we're all playing it, and I've been really excited for this podcast.
Speaking of which, would it be a good idea to share our experiences with Sailor Moon?
I think it is a great idea.
You know,
actually.
I want to start with Eli because you're Sailor Eli, right?
Yeah, I am. I am Sailor Eli.
Go into that. Let's crack that open.
He actually has his own Senshi stone. That's he's the professional here.
He is actually a magical boy. So that's it.
Yeah. So and I'm not Sailor Eli just because I curse a lot. I was talking to one of my managers at work and was like, yeah, I've got this YouTube channel and I go by Sailor Eli, and he's like, is that because you curse? And I'm like, well, also that. So yeah, Sailor Moon. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was like, no, I don't curse. That's the goddammit ghost that shows up. He just goes in, he supplies all the cuss words.
Yeah, and then leaves. It's not me. I've never done that. So Sailor Moon is something that I grew up with. When I was in middle school, I got really into Pokemon, and I started watching the Pokemon anime. I didn't know this show was Japanese. I was just like, this is fun. So I made some friends at school who also played Pokemon, and we talked about that, and then we went to a sleepover together, and one of them showed Ranma 1/2. Mm-hmm. And I watched that, and it was really funny. I'd never seen anything like that.
What an iconic anime.
And
I don't think I
I know. And the manga. Yeah, right. The girl who showed us Ranma 1/2 was like, hey, if you like that, you're gonna love Sailor Moon. And I'm like, what is Sailor Moon? And so she told me to tune into Toonami on Cartoon Network. It was on there at 4 p.m. our time, and I watched one episode of it, and I was like, this is my jam.
Yeah.
This is forever my show. I need this always in my life. Immediately fell in love with Sailor Jupiter because Uranus and Neptune hadn't made their way to the States yet. Yeah. I immediately got super hooked on it and started looking stuff up online and learning about it and I learned how to draw because of Sailor Moon.
Wow.
Holy
crap.
That was what got me really into drawing. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been a huge part of my life. I credit Sailor Moon with my being able to come out as bisexual and later come out as trans because, I look up to Sailor Uranus a whole lot, and she's genderqueer, and she's a lesbian, or she's gay. Mm-hmm. She's genderqueer, she's not necessarily a lesbian. But anyway, so that's a huge part of my identity, and that's part of why, that's the reason why I wanted to be Sailor Eli on YouTube. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm super, super stoked for this.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's really, really cool. The fact that you know how to draw now because of Sailor Moon. That's
yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Sailor Moon, then I'd be able to draw.
I think my only experience with Sailor Moon was Hearing about it from friends, because when I was younger, I was like really into Gundam and like just fantasy anime like Dot Hack and stuff like that. But I had heard of Sailor Moon and I watched it when I was like, I remember like a kid. An early morning, right? You would wake up on, I think it was like Saturday mornings or something like that, or just wake up early mornings and you'd watch it. And it was so good. I remember like watching it and like, and because like I was like in a really Christian household, like dudes watching Sailor Moon was just not something, it was just not something that like they really wanted us to watch. So I'd wake up like really early on weekdays before school so that I could watch it. And then, you know, watch it again on Saturdays. And then I worked at GameStop with one of my managers really liking Sailor Moon a lot. She ended up working for like I think Gaia or something like that. But when I think of Sailor Moon, I also think of her, and she was like one of the best artists I've ever met in my life.
Wow, nice.
And so yeah,
That's awesome.
I should show you guys her artwork. Her name is like Pyowacket, and she's really great at what she does. But Sailor Moon has always been, I don't know, I kind of always associated it with like Power Rangers, and that's definitely, I guess, the intent.
That's how it got its start. Just for a real quick history lesson, Naoko Takeuchi, who was the creator of Sailor Moon, was really into the Sentai shows over in Japan. But so things like Kamen Rider, but she noticed there was nothing like specifically for girls. It was all catered to boys. So she wanted to make her own Super Sentai series specifically for girls, and that's how the first manga of Codename Sailor V came out, because that's the prequel to Sailor Moon. And then it boomed in popularity, and she was told, you have to make more of this. So that's where Sailor Moon came from. She didn't end up finishing Codename Sailor V until after Sailor Moon had started, and then it gave her a chance to kind of integrate it into Sailor Moon.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that at all.
Yeah.
So,
I have lots of interesting history stuff. But anyway, go ahead.
So how my entire like solo introduction to Sailor Moon was back. So I watched Toonami, but I'm like barely younger than Eli is. So I was on like the next round of Toonami when we had Yu Yu Hakusho and Dragon Ball Z, and Sailor Moon was already off of it. So watching that, Dragon Ball was on it, and I watched the crap out of Dragon Ball. And I remember being like 9 years old. The internet was a wild, wonderful, beautiful place, and I searched for Dragon Ball, and I came across this website called Dragon Moon Z, which
oh my goodness. I miss the old internet.
Which sounds like something. It sounds like something that would have existed back then.
Yeah, it was it was a hentai site.
Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about now. Yep.
It specialized in crossovers between Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon, and that was the only thing I knew about Sailor Moon, was that it was an anime with a girl in it until high school.
Gosh.
My friend Ashley cosplayed as Sailor Moon, and that then was the only thing I knew about it. Practically,
I saw porn of that.
It was practically all the way up until I met Summer. Like, I obviously had learned about it and knew little things about it. Knew it wasn't just a porn thing, but I didn't I just knew of it as, oh, it's that anime, and not anything specific about it until I married Summer, and then she was super into it and would break things down and be like, oh, this is just yada yada and this and that and the other. And I finally watched more than a clip of Sailor Moon last summer, and we watched Sailor Moon Crystal together, and we binge watched the whole 3 seasons that were out thus far, and I love it.
So good.
I love it so much. And we're looking at, because Super S is going to be 2 movies for Crystal, and so Summer was like, well, that's not going to be enough. You're going to need the true learning for it. And so Viz just finished their dub of Super S, which is the more correct dub, and so we're probably going to pay the $120 to get Super S on Blu-ray and then watch that.
Let me actually help you with that. I will lend you the manga, because the original anime Supers is awful.
Okay.
It's awful. It's awful. It's awful.
Okay.
I hate it.
Okay.
It's because the anime had gotten past the manga and they just went
classic.
meow, and
okay.
like totally off the rails, did their own
Go to a
shit,
Pink Lady Planet.
and it almost yeah.
Like in
Well,
Dragon
it's
Ball.
I mean it has elements. Yeah, it has elements that are similar, but it's not the same. And it almost got Sailor Moon canceled before
wow.
Stars came
That
out.
bad? Wow.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Like,
it's not good. So I would say do watch it, but I will also lend you the manga so you can. Yeah,
Sounds groovy. What?
yeah. I just don't want anyone to be ruined by the original anime because, like, don't get me wrong, I love the original anime for what it is, but after reading the manga, I'm like, this is a bunch of horseshit.
So good thing that our game we're playing is right in that timeline of the thing. So I wouldn't have had to have known about the horse shit before playing this game.
Oh, that is good.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
go ahead, Spiffle.
So my experience is pretty similar to Rizzo's, I would say. Basically, I've just like Sam, I'm a little bit too young for it to have been on Toonami. In fact, I didn't realize it was ever on Toonami. And also, my family didn't get like cable TV and stuff for a little later. So even like Dragon Ball, that was something I would watch like at a friend's house and not like at my house. But anyway, so yeah, my only experience with Sailor Moon is I know a lot about it. I've been adjacent to people who are big fans of that kind of stuff to know a lot about it, but it was never like on TV. And in my small town, we had like dial-up internet, so it's not like I could like download it or anything. So it was like I think if I wanted to watch it, I would have had to watch it at like 3 a.m. You know, like Saturday, like again, Cartoon Network, their Saturday night block. They had all the cool animes, but then in the middle of the freaking night at like 1 a.m. they had like Lupin the Third, which was mind-blowing for me as a child because it's so good. And then Cowboy Bebop, but then like even later than that, they would have like the stuff that had gone out of rotation, like Sailor Moon. So I've just seen a handful of episodes. I know I'm a big fan of it because it owns. I like the concept. I like Sentai stuff. So Sentai, except also for girls and cuter is better. I like the aesthetic. I just that 80s anime style is awesome. Yeah, I've actually been looking to watch it. We want to get into it because my spouse Melissa is not really into anime, but she loves Hello Kitty and other cute femme things. I know,
she
right?
would love
that's
Sailor Moon, I
I've
think.
been thinking one of these days, we've been a bit too busy to really do that, but I've been thinking, oh, you know what? A fun thing that we could do is I could get my anime fix, and she could watch something she enjoys, so maybe we should watch Sailor Moon. And I was already thinking that before we even talked about, playing this game. So it comes really fortuitously for me. So I basically know nothing. I know that there's different characters that have different names and are different planets. I know that there's a tuxedo mask who there's that meme where they say, "But you didn't do anything."
And he's like, "Bye."
And,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically all I know, and I did not realize that this game was going to be so
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm so glad we got "but you didn't do anything" at the end of this chapter.
Yeah.
I was like thirsty for
exactly.
it. I was like, wait,
Yeah,
Sailor Moon has been in so much danger. Where is Tuxedo Mask to come and not do anything?
Yeah, exactly. So before we get into this too much, I wanted to say a couple more things. I totally forgot. Sailor Moon also got me into role playing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, when so there was a big thing where we got most of Sailor Moon R in the States, but then for some reason, like the last quarter of the episodes didn't get translated and brought over for a long time. And so when they finally did, Toonami had this big event like, oh, see the end of the Nega Moon. That was what they called it in English. It's the Black Moon, but they couldn't say black. So
instead they say a word that sounds very similar to a much worse word.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. they unintentionally made it worse. So they brought over the end of the Nega Moon arc, and we got to see Wicked Lady, who was... sorry, my computer just went on screensaver for some reason. Wicked Lady was Chibiusa or Rini in the States, who was grown up and made badass and evil, and I love her.
Yeah.
She's Black Lady in Japan, but yeah.
It's
So
straightforward.
Yeah.
Black Lady.
She's like
But,
100% fuchsia, though. There's like, she almost wears zero black, but whatever.
yeah. But she's so cool,
She's the
and I
coolest.
fell in love with her, and I decided I was going to make an RPG based on the villains of the Black Moon, and so I started that up, and if anyone knows what the Black Moon RPG was, hi. I'm the leader of that from 2 decades ago almost.
That's so cool.
It ran all through the 8th through 12th grade for me. Like I kept it going all that time,
Nice.
if not beyond that. And then the other thing to note is oh shoot. Well, I was gonna before we start, I actually am gonna give a brief overview of where we are in the story.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna name all the Guardians, and that way we kind of can. Yeah, there's a lot. So we can kind of keep track.
Yeah. Nothing like an RPG that gives you 9 playable characters in the first 5 minutes of the game.
Right off the bat.
Yeah. It's great. We get up to 10 eventually.
Yeah.
That owns.
So today we'll be discussing Chapter 1 of Sailor Moon Another Story, which is entitled Her Destiny. So do we want to get right into this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So here is a brief overview. Here's the names of all the Guardians and who they are in their human personas. We have Sailor Moon, who is Usagi Tsukino. She's our main character, who we're going to be controlling for most or the entirety of Chapter 1. Sailor Mercury is Ami Mizuno. Sailor Mars is Rei Hino. Sailor Jupiter is Makoto Kino. Sailor Venus is Minako Aino. Tuxedo Mask is Mamoru Chiba. Chibi Moon is Chibiusa Tsukino. She is the future daughter of Usagi and Mamoru.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is where it gets a little confusing. So this is I'm going to do the newbie's take on it, and you can correct me everywhere that I'm wrong. But
go for it.
So the reason that everyone has their powers is they are like the seedlings that will create the Crystal Tokyo Empire in the future, and so the actual Crystal Tokyo Empire in the future is like influencing stuff in the past to like close their loop and stuff, and
like Homestuck.
Kind of. And so check mark, there it is. There's our Homestuck reference for the episode. But so they like send back all of the like Dumaflachis that help them like digivolve or whatever into their Sailor Moon forms. And so go ahead.
I was gonna say that's you've kind of got the gist of it. They're all reincarnated from their past selves.
Oh, okay.
They were all princesses long ago in the past.
Oh, okay. So it's past and future. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The future comes in Sailor Moon R when
Chibi shows up.
Yeah, Chibiusa shows up because the Black Moon Nemesis from the future has decided we're going to go fuck up the past and we're going to make the future all about Nemesis. And we're gonna kill Neo Queen Serenity before she becomes Neo Queen Serenity, and Neo Queen Serenity is Sailor Moon. So yeah. But then at the point that we're in now, Chibiusa has come back to the past to train to be the future Sailor Moon.
Yeah, because she came back so that she could help save Sailor Moon, and then at the end of that arc, she goes back to the future. And then while she's there, Neo Queen Serenity is like, you know what? Go back so you can be Sailor Moon, so I can keep being Queen. And go do that.
Yeah.
So now it's in Crystal. It's super funny because like she goes and it's this big heartfelt like goodbye and everything, and like she's hugging everybody like I'm gonna miss you in the future, and she like goes off into outer space, and then like seconds later she comes back down like 2 years older and it's just like, hey guys, I'm back, and it's great.
Let me make sure I got this right. So future Sailor Moon, who is now a princess or a queen, but also has to be a Sailor Moon, is like, I don't like being a Sailor Moon and a queen. It's too much work. Hey, my daughter, I wish that you could take up my mantle as Sailor Moon, but unfortunately you're not trained. So how about you go back into the past and start training then? That way when you get back to now, you're already good. Like, I wish you could have already been Sailor Moon. And then she's like, okay, well, time travel can allow that to happen.
Yeah.
Neo Queen Serenity cannot be Sailor Moon anymore.
Oh, I didn't actually know that.
She's lost the ability to transform because she's got to protect all of Earth and be queen. So there is no Sailor Moon in the future, so she sends Chibiusa back to be Sailor Moon.
Oh, cool.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's
it's like I always say, the easiest way to do something is to have already done it.
Yeah. Then
exactly.
some character stuff that I feel will be important to get jokes as we go along is in this version of the anime that this is taking place in. Rei and Usagi like hate each other. Like they're the biggest rivals in the entire world. Rei would be Sailor Mars. So like there's specifically a joke in this chapter that requires that knowledge. So that's why I wanted to bring that one up. And then for Chibiusa, and even though Chibi knows that Mamoru is her dad and Usagi knows that Chibi is her daughter, they for some reason have like a love battle between over Mamoru. Like, who do you love, me or Chibi? And Mamoru's like, she's my daughter, of course, like I'm going to take care of her. Like, what do you mean, Usagi? And it's this huge like, well, you have to tell me, like, do you love me or do you love her? Like constant back and forth thing. And
yeah, Usagi's kind of a shithead in the original anime.
I mean, yeah.
They all kind of are. They had their personalities like bumped up to 11 for the original anime because it was a kids show and it was meant to be fun and colorful and blah blah blah.
So it was just super exaggerated.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that's enough working knowledge to be able to get started.
I do need to name the rest of the senshi real quick.
Please do.
Stop. Sorry.
Nope. We are not done. We've got Sailor Uranus, who is Haruka Tenno, Sailor Neptune, who is Michiru Kaio, and it's also important to note that those two are in a relationship together. Mm-hmm. Sailor Saturn, who is Hotaru Tomoe, and one we haven't run into yet, Sailor Pluto, who is Setsuna Meo. We haven't run into her because she dead.
Yeah.
At this point in the original anime, and this does borrow some from the manga, but mostly it takes after the anime storyline. At this point in the original anime, she had stopped time to prevent Uranus and Neptune from dying in a helicopter crash. And that is the biggest of the three taboos of time space. The three taboos are don't leave the time space door, don't let anyone through the time space door, never stop time. And she has done all three of those, and it killed her.
Dang.
So yeah,
she's my favorite. Does she at least show up later? Like,
she does come back. Yeah, she will be in this game. She will be in this game. She will come back in the anime.
One thing that's cool that is scrubbed out of the original anime and probably scrubbed out here is that Pluto is brown. She is a Sailor Scout of color, and they bring that back in Crystal, and I love her for it, and everything is great, except in the original anime, she's like maybe like 1% more tan than other people, like, but when they're all in a line,
you should see her in the manga.
Like,
when I lend you the manga, she is actually like colored in, like darkened.
Haven't we talked about this before? I think at some point.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it. At work on the Rose. We were talking about it.
She was like, she came from like the dark side or whatever, and so they really wanted to make her darker, like physically darker.
No,
and
that's
right.
Maybe, I don't know, but
something like that. Takeuchi has never really gone into too much detail about why she's darker, but it was more like that Pluto had a dark personality, and
so
she
they
wanted
to keep it consistent throughout like the whole character. You know, like her outfit was dark, she was a little bit darker.
Yeah,
it's kind of
exactly.
She's badass, and like ironically, she was, besides Moon, who's Summer's favorite. She was Pluto was Summer's favorite for most of growing up, and now that she knows that she should have been brown when Summer was watching it, Summer's like, my life would have changed completely if I could have looked up to a brown girl on TV growing up. I'm just like,
yeah.
God dang it, xenophobia of the mid-90s Japan.
Yeah. I do wish that she had been darker in the original anime. That would have been great.
I have
now,
one more question before we start.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
Because this was bugging me the whole time. So regular people do not know that Usagi and her friends who are normal schoolgirls are also Sailor Scouts, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Even though...
But do they all know that each other are Sailor Scouts?
Yes.
Correct.
They hang out.
Okay.
They hang out outside of school. And outside
right,
of stuff.
So they're all aware of each other's real and fake identities, but they are not aware of tuxedo masks.
No, they are.
At this point in the story, they are. Yeah.
Okay, but at some point earlier they weren't.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they didn't find out until the end of it was more toward the middle of the original season.
Yeah.
Or the first season, first Sailor Moon manga series.
Yeah.
But yeah, at this point,
so Usagi knows that Mamoru is tuxedo mask and vice versa.
Yeah.
Yes, they know that they were prince and princess in the past. He was Prince of Earth, she was Princess of the Moon, and that they know also that in the future that they're going to be king and queen together, which is why Chibiusa exists.
And have a future child. Okay, so they got it all figured out at this point. Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure I knew who knew what at this point and what was supposed to be a secret or not, so that there's like dramatic tension. Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So now, almost 30 minutes into the podcast, let's get started on the game.
It's not a long playthrough. I mean, it's not terribly long, so.
Yeah.
No,
these overall are probably going to be like some of the shortest episodes we do. At least, at least they'll be longer than if we had done Magic Knight Ray Earth, because this game is 15 hours long, and we're spreading that over 5 episodes. Magic Knight Ray Earth was 6 hours long, and we're spreading it over 4 episodes. So,
well, we may actually be doing this over 6 episodes because, like I was saying in the host channel, we should maybe split Chapter 2 up. Because in Chapter 2...
So I was looking on the guide, and there are the same number of bosses in Chapter 2 as there are in Chapter 1. So,
oh, really?
So even though, that's what I was thinking, because they do split it up. There's 3 parts to Chapter 2, but it's like the number of stuff you do in each part is smaller. So we'll see.
Okay.
And even then, even if it is way longer, it's not going to be 9 hours like Persona was. So,
right, that's true.
Yeah.
So let's get started. At the very start of the game, we get a cutscene showing a meteor headed toward Earth in the 30th century, and a new enemy attacking Crystal Tokyo. Mm-hmm. Queen Serenity and King Endymion watch the mystical silver crystal, which is called the Ginzuisho in the game and in Japan, react violently to some energy, and they mention Death Phantom, who's the big villain at the end of the Black Moon arc. So that's the prior to where we have gotten at this point in the series.
Gotcha.
But apparently there's some different threat that's happening. It's all kind of vague and nebulous at this point. They don't really go into a whole lot of explanation. But then we see a girl who looks sort of like Usagi wearing a onesie, talking to a green-haired boy about their destiny and making Lord Apsu's dream come true. The boy says something about Princess, and how he's going to make sure destiny changes. But we can infer based on that he means Chibiusa because they're in the future.
Gotcha. So at that time, that would have been who the princess is.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And then Chibiusa is in the past, so she's currently in the 20th century. She confirms that she had a vision from the future about destiny being altered, and then we get our title screen.
So, this title screen, the music here is bumping because it's a 16-bit rendition of the original theme.
Yeah, it
And one thing that was super cool about it while it was going through is Summer was singing along with it while I was playing, and she jumped back and forth between the Japanese and the English because they used they used like the same song, like beat, rhythm, etc. Just translated the words. So
Nice.
she was like would like do a stanza in Japanese, then do a stanza in English, and back and forth because she's watched the series in like every dub possible, like 30 times.
Yeah.
But,
the Japanese is inherently superior, by the way. The English, everybody knows the English. Fighting evil by moonlight, winning love by daylight, never running from a real fight. She is the one named Sailor Moon.
This was so hard to do with internet latency.
The Japanese is Gomen ne sunao janakutte yume no naka nara ieru shikou kairo wa shoto sunzen imasugu aitai yo, and it says nothing about Sailor Moon in there.
Yeah, it says it says Sailor Moon like I think one time in the whole song, and it's like at the end when like the logo shows up, and it's not the English says it like every bar.
Yeah, it's like you're watching Sailor Moon. You're watching Sailor Moon. Guess what? You're watching Sailor Moon. Yeah, that's the English theme song, and I hate it. So we start the game up, and we see Luna in Usagi's room trying to wake her up, like she does, because Usagi is always sleeping or eating. Those are the two things she does best.
Yeah.
There's something weird going on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a really relatable moment.
Yeah, exactly. Usagi is honestly a very relatable character.
One thing I loved about this opening is Usagi keeps saying like, "Good night, it's time for bed," and everyone else is getting up and getting ready to go to school. And even after she goes and sees that it's daylight outside and does some Sailor Mooning and like saves everyone, like everyone is on their way to work, and she's like, "All right, I'm gonna go take a nap now." And it's like it's 7:30. You have to go to school.
There's actually one very specific line here that I actually sent to. I actually told my spouse Melissa about it because I wanted her to know about it, and it's like. In this opening part, so what happens is, what's the name of the cat? Luna. So the cat's literally like, "Get up, something bad's going on." And she's just like, "Whatever." But then she's like, "No, this is serious." And what Sailor Moon says, Usagi says, she literally goes, she's like, "Okay, fine, I believe you. There's something dangerous going on. Be careful. Good night."
I like how like the game poses like the choice to help or to like investigate. It's like, are you going to get up and help? And the first
I hit no like 5 times.
Yeah, the first time I said yes, but then when I played it again, I selected no, and then you get like pummeled.
That's great.
She's like, "You don't get a choice."
I've been like tricked by too many games recently that will give you a game over for those things. So I used to always pick no. Like in Pokemon, it's like, "Do you want to join Team Rocket?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I do." And like I used to be that kind of person, but like I've gotten, I don't even remember like what game it is where it's like, it was Space Funeral, where it's just like, "Here, you can drink my blood," and then you get a game over. I'm like, well, I don't want to risk that ever again. Even though that's like exclusive to Space Funeral, I'm still afraid of it in like every game now.
Sam, it's actually good that you were afraid because you would have had to literally replay the entire final dungeon of Dragon Quest 1 if you had not been afraid, actually.
Oh,
because that happens in Dragon Quest as well, so I'm glad that you didn't make that mistake.
Good.
Cool. So we're told to go out and investigate because the people in the town are acting weird, and so fine. We leave, we go investigate, but there's no direction given. It's just like, go check things out. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a guy who's dressed up like Discount Link standing outside in the neighborhood.
Discount Link.
Is that a thing from the manga?
I'm changing my Twitter.
No.
I'm changing my Twitter name to Discount Link. That's what I'm doing.
That's a good way.
Discount
They change your pick to that too.
He's not a guy in the manga. He's exclusive to this game, and I believe he's from Switzerland. based on what happens later.
That makes sense.
But he will heal you, and it's great.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we're just told to go roam around, and so we go through a bunch of shops because I don't know where we go.
One shops that actually have like equipment and stuff because I didn't.
There's one, two actually.
Osa P, that one that has your equipment in it.
Okay, so because I got lost and I got into a lot of fights because I was like, oh wow, this is really annoying, and I didn't know that your like mana or power like refilled every fight. So I got into like the red zone too many times because I didn't know if I had like the right items or the right equipment. I have like no idea where any of this stuff is in this place. I literally beat this one chapter with nothing but the items that I won from battle. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I did the same thing, but I've played this game before. So
I would say you didn't miss too much. So there's a store that sells items that I stocked up on because I think I saw someone else's post about it. And then there is a store that sells equipment, but it's pretty expensive. And I found that store after I'd already stocked up on items.
Yeah.
So I couldn't afford the equipment, so I didn't buy any of it, and it all turned out fine. So I don't think you're missing like the equipment. It's not like armor and weapons. It's just literally like it's like you know how in a lot of RPGs you have an extra accessory slot.
Yeah.
It's just that.
Okay. Cool.
That's all you have for accessories.
Just have a single attack up or a single defense up, and you actually win a couple in battles. Like I have two. Oh, wait, no, you don't. No, I have two speed ups that I bought actually. Yeah, that's all I have.
As a game design thing right now, that takes place right now that I thought was really cool, is so the first person that you see besides Discount Link that heals you is this guy from the Metro Kingdom in Super Mario Odyssey, and he you
totally do. Yeah,
he tells you that if you want to know how to play the game, you can go to the Clock Factory and the GameStop, and they'll the Game Shop, and they'll tell you everything. So I go to both of those, and the first person you talk to in one of those says, "Hey, this isn't like a lot of other games. It's really, really long. So always save whenever you see a Luna P." Which like the people that this like because like RPGs were not marketed to girls. Like somehow over the years, like girls almost exclusively play the JRPGs nowadays. But like back in the day, like the Final Fantasies and the Dragon Quest, like those were all about like burly dudes saving girly girls and whatever. But this one was like marketed for girls. So they're like, hey, this isn't like a visual novel. This isn't going to be like something you finish today. Make sure you're always saving. And it was like cool that they called out like this game is 15 hours long. You haven't really done that ever before in your life. Like go and save.
Yeah.
Because like everywhere else is just like, oh hey, here's where you record your progress, and you just move on because we're like the people that normally play RPGs, like you understand save points, you understand the length and epicness of your quest ahead of you. But this one is like the people picking this up for the first time probably don't know any of that. So let's make sure we say like define our basic terms of what an RPG is, which I thought was really cool.
Which is cool. Yeah,
it's really simplified from other RPGs. Like playing Final Fantasy VI is like, oh my god, I have so many things that I have to keep track of. I have so many things that I can do, like so much armor and equipment and stuff. Whereas this is like, you get a couple of accessory slots, and then like the other stuff is based on restoring health and restoring your crystal powers, which will power your abilities.
That they also give you like both AoEs and single attack spells and healing spells all from the jump, and not like something you unlock at level 20 like normal. Like there's almost zero resource management in this. Like it is a really good like first RPG for people, which I like applaud because like for instance like DuckTales and the Mickey platformers aren't that easy for people that are just like, oh, I loved DuckTales, let's go and play this game, and then they die like right away, and it's really hard and whatever. And so a lot of times licensed games like have a dissonance between the license and the game, and this one was like really on point. Like it takes place in the anime universe, and it like has all these things to catch people up on how to play RPGs, which I thought was really, really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a great job with this. So even though no direction is given, like you're kind of just left to wander into stores and things like that. But eventually we wander into the Osapi jewelry store, which is where we literally see history repeating itself, because the first thing we find is Naru, who is Usagi's best friend, and Naru's mom being cornered by a monster and attacked, which is the first episode of Sailor Moon. Naru gets attacked by a monster.
Oh.
Yeah.
I got that it was a throwback. I didn't realize it was the first episode throwback. That's cool.
Well,
Yeah.
One thing that I think is like weird about this game is there's zero like previously on or anything, and then the entire plot is based around revisiting things that happened before and like big dramatic moments. So it's like
it absolutely is.
So it's just a weird thing about it.
Yeah. I was gonna say the game assumes that you are a diehard Sailor Moon fan and you have watched every episode up to this point, because every monster you run into is also from the anime.
Really?
It has shown up at some point and they have already defeated it. Yeah. They've all got they've all got their same names that they had. Like the whole Monster of the Day thing in the original anime came about with like they would possess a tennis racket, and this tennis racket would go nuts and turn the person using it into a big monster named Tessuni, which is an anagram for Tennisu.
Yeah.
Which is tennis in Japan, in Japanese. So, but yeah, things like that. So they're all based on those old monsters, and they, so we save Naru and her mom, and Usagi's like, what the hell? Why was there a daimon? There shouldn't be daimons. The Death Busters are now Dead Busters. We have killed them. They're gone.
Yeah.
Those are the enemies from Sailor Moon S. So we then head over to the Hikawa Shrine, which is where Rei lives, and we meet up with the other girls because, hey, something's really freaking weird about this. So the girls spend some time talking about Ami's friend Ryo Urawa, who is in town. This is also there's gonna be a lot of this is a character from the anime, and I'm gonna have to explain it. Ryo Urawa showed up in the first season of Sailor Moon. He had a rainbow crystal inside of him, which in the original anime was a MacGuffin for creating the legendary silver crystal. Because he had that rainbow crystal, he had the ability to tell the future, and he had like cheated on a test so that he could get all the perfect scores, because he wanted to get closer to Ami. Because
that's what you do when you have godlike power like that. You cheat on a test so that a girl will like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's fine. He knew she was Sailor Mercury, and he had to tell her about all the bad things that were going to happen. And anyway, it's a 90s anime. I should be a little gentler on it. It was a different time.
Yeah,
it was a different time. God, 30-ish years ago, almost.
Oh God, we're old.
Yeah, we are. So the girls all tease Ami about having a date. And then she leaves to go meet Urawa at the train station, and because they're creeps as well, they decide to follow her and see what's happening.
Of course.
One of them wanted to not follow her. Do you remember which one it was?
Makoto.
Which is Sailor
Jupiter.
Okay, gotcha.
Makoto had reservations about it, but then she was like, "Oh, all right, fine, yeah, yeah, exactly." But it's good that she came along.
Yeah.
So Ami is there at the train station to meet Urawa, not realizing that we all totally stalked her. Yeah,
I don't understand how you don't notice the
people following.
One person.
The stampeding of kitten heels click clacking across the floor. I just don't understand why you don't.
They
didn't hear that.
So they're all one person.
Oh yeah, you're right.
It's a party, right? So it's all they occupy the same amount of mental attention as one person would.
Okay, got it.
Well,
also, the game doesn't have sound effects.
Yeah. Well, during the cutscene, all of them go and hide behind poles and bushes except Makoto, who just kind of stands there.
So good.
And then eventually she looks around and she's like, "Oh shit!" and she goes and hides. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so of course, because this is an RPG, this wasn't a normal date, and people start fleeing from the train, like, with their hair on fire, like, oh my god,
Oh, yeah.
there's monsters on the train!
Yeah, exactly. So we all transform because, like, there's monsters here. So we meet up with Mercury and get on the train.
So,
run into
real quick about the transforming, I was like thirsty for it because literally, if you cut out the transformation of the entire original anime, you would have about a 25-minute like mini movie.
Yeah,
because it's like all just their transformations. Like it's the same way with Digimon. So like I'm not complaining or whatever. So I was like ready for like, oh, what are they going to do to like imply it? Because they're obviously not going to have like the full FMV, but maybe they'll do like the spin around or something like that. And no, they just like their sprites just change. There's like a little flash of light, and their sprites just change into their
they
sprites.
Yeah, the sprite does spin around, but yeah, I mean it's explained. I believe it was explained somewhere. It might be Word of God, but their transformations take a split second.
Yeah,
but they needed lots of stock footage for the original anime, and they needed to fill time, so they're like, why don't we make them transform every episode, and it'll be really cool and pretty. So that's for our benefit.
Yeah.
I also like how, since this is not an anime we're watching, but rather a game that we're playing where we're inhabiting these characters, I like the idea that to these characters, like to us, the viewer, transforming is this beautiful thing. To them, it's just MVD. They're just like, all right, transform time.
Yeah, like this is the only one
done.
that also happens on screen. The rest of them, it just goes make up, and like this when you get into a battle and it goes black, and then you're in battle and you're transformed. It's like they're like, oh, you want to see a transformation? Here's one. You get one.
Yeah, that's your you're going into battle noise because they've said make up.
Yeah, which I thought was
I didn't realize that's what they were saying, but now I do.
Yeah.
So that's what, like in the anime, she goes whatever her current power level is has a different beginning, but it's like moon crystal activation make up. And when she said
crystal power,
whatever, I couldn't remember one off the top of my head.
Gosh, Sam.
But so she'll say that, but then like that changes like all the way through the anime. Like if she's transforming with her pin or her locket or her compact, whatever she's transforming with, the beginning changes, but the makeup is consistent. So I thought that was really cool. That's you getting into battle is you transforming and doing the makeup part, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, it is great. So we find Urawa is passed out after we kill some monsters we've already killed in the anime, and we take him back to the shrine. So then Ami takes care of Urawa, and Ray does a fire reading. The fire transforms... Gesundheit. The fire transforms and has like a face and calls itself Sin. And then talks to us, at which point it blows up in Ray's face. We all laugh at her because we're ninth graders, and ninth graders have no sense of empathy, even for their closest friends. And then
I love how they actually gave her a sprite for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sprite.
It's great.
Speaking of game stuff, real quick, so in this battle that we just did with all the scouts, it gave us like 900 experience points and boosted everyone up to level 5, and I'm like, oh, this is how fast the game will level us. This is going to be awesome. But no, it's
just wait.
But no, it's because we don't see these guys for the rest of the chapter, and they didn't want them to be underleveled when you pick them back up in chapter 2. So it was like as a game design thing, it was really like smart, but also weird that it was the first one we saw where you just got bukus of experience and leveled up like 5 times at once, and then you go back to normal and you're like, you get 1 experience point per battle.
Well, also I almost like it's almost like a This Is Final Tap thing where it's like, wait, in the first battle Usagi is like level 10 and everyone else is like level 1 and they all suck, but then after one battle they all level up a ton to get more like her level wise, and it's like, wait, why didn't they just start at her level instead of starting at 1 and then instantly giving them 6 levels after one battle? It's odd. I don't actually care to criticize it because who cares, but it's certainly odd.
Yeah. Well, remember too, like Sam was saying, this is like girls' first anime or girls' first RPG.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a little bit more forgiving in some ways, but in other ways, like it's still Japanese, it's still grindy. So, but we will get to that part soon.
Yeah.
So Ray says she's gonna go take a bath because she's covered in soot and it's gross.
Mhm.
And then Ray's grandpa calls out for her to come to get the phone. Usagi, being both helpful and very nosy, goes and grabs the phone in Ray's head.
Big mood.
And it's yeah.
And once again, all the girls are like, "Why are you the one getting the phone?" And she's just like, "Whatever."
Yeah, pretty much. So it's Haruka, and she says something weird is going on with Hotaru and asks us to meet with her and Michiru over at the hospital.
Mhm.
So we head over there. We find that Hotaru, at this point in the anime and in the manga, Hotaru had become a big enemy named Mistress Nine.
Mhm.
She was defeated. Sailor Saturn came out. It was really awesome, but it killed Saturn and Mistress Nine. However, Sailor Moon's power allowed Hotaru to be reincarnated as a baby.
Mhm.
So we come in and we see 12-year-old Hotaru in a hospital bed, and it's like, what the fuck? Weren't you just a baby?
Oh, because I hadn't seen that in the original of her being a baby, I thought it was reversed. Like she was supposed to be like a 10-year-old instead of a 15-year-old or whatever. Like I thought they were saying that she was young, and then she transforms, and I'm like, so like what's up? Like I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, she had been a baby, but suddenly like had the biggest growth spurt of all time. It must have been horrible,
Right? Like, all those growing pains at once. Jesus.
Yeah. Oh God. She just ate the entire kitchen, and then she was 12 again, and that's why she's in the hospital. And Michiru and Haruka had vowed to take care of Hotaru. In the manga and Crystal, Pluto Setsuna had it as well because she was alive at that point, but she did. So they talk about this for a little while. They're like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. We're seeing all these monsters we've already seen before. A nurse shows up and says, oh, it's time for Hotaru's checkup. And Michiru's like, bitch, don't you knock? And realizes the nurse is a monster because no human would ever be that rude and just waltz into a patient's hospital room like that.
Which I thought that was like hilarious.
The power of etiquette.
It was like, what if she was a nurse and she was like, okay, she actually has to get checked up on now. Well, like, what if it was legit?
They give to its credit, they give lip service to that. She was like, we have standing orders that no one enters the room. And
yeah, but it's like medical. It's like a nurse.
Yeah,
you know,
like So the one thing from the anime you might not know is that Haruka and Michiru are really fucking rich. So they can...
that's also true.
So them saying, don't come in here, probably had $100 bill attached to it.
They have no parents, and they are rich as hell.
Haruka is a NASCAR driver.
Haruka explains it, and Michiru, she is a race car driver, and... Michiru is a famous violinist.
Yeah.
And they have quote unquote patrons that take care of all their expenses.
Yeah.
So the nurse, of course, turns into a monster because Michiru is always right. Mm-hmm. And we fight it, and of course it turns out we had killed that monster before as well.
Oh, one thing, Michiru is always right because her mirror that she has tells the truth. That wasn't like just a assault against her personality. She's literally always right. Yeah.
She has the power of knowing the truth all the time.
Yeah.
So we fight that monster. Turns out we killed it before. Hotaru says something about destiny being changed, to which we get the greatest Haruka line. That's stupid.
Yep. That's stupid.
I love it.
Yep.
So much.
Oh, I forgot to read it as I wrote it, which is Haruka poses a salient point. That's stupid.
So, as a brief aside on it being stupid, so what this game is doing is the bending over backwards bullcrap that mobile gacha games will do 20 years from now, where they're like, we want to tell a new Final Fantasy story, but we also want people who only want to play as Cloud to play our story. So we're going to spend the first, 2 hours of our story bending over backwards to do some time-space bullcrap to put Cloud in our new Final Fantasy game. And that's basically this whole first chapter is like, oh, well, Destiny's changing, so you have to fight all these people. Instead of just, making the story, the video game be the first season and you could go through all of these things again, they wanted to tell a new story, but then also hit all of the old bad guys at the same time. And it's great.
Exactly.
Well, it also saves a lot of time with having to design new monsters.
That too.
That's
the
true.
monster designs are awesome, so they're probably our artists for the anime and manga spent a lot of time making these cool baddies, so obviously we're going to use them.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So after conveniently musing about who the enemies are, we cut to the enemy.
Hey.
We see
They're all
5
really
girls.
hot.
Yeah, they are really hot. We see 5 girls in onesies standing before a lady in a skirt and bra who might also be Sephiroth's love child with Knuckles the Echidna, because she's got long white hair and big red spikes coming out of her shoulders.
Really great. What are they supposed to look like? Are they supposed to all look like the Sailor Scouts?
Yeah.
Yes.
So what I think is great is in this scene right here, for some reason, Nega Venus is doing the biggest booty bump in the entire world. She's
She is.
she's
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
bent in half, balancing on her heels, while everyone's there just being debriefed on their mission, and she's just sitting there twerking it
That's
out.
just her chilling pose.
Yeah, she
Indeed.
opposite Venus, whose name is Ishtar. They're all named after Mesopotamian gods and goddesses.
That's awesome.
Okay.
As opposed to the Sailor Guardians, who are named after Roman gods and goddesses.
Right.
Nega Venus is Ishtar, and she is super thrilled about everything, and I love her. She puts hearts in her dialogue a whole lot. It's great.
Yeah.
The one who looks like Usagi, who is named Sin, calls the woman Apsu-sama, and they talk about changing destiny more.
Mm-hmm.
This is all we talk about during this first chapter. Yeah. We're going to change destiny. They're going to change destiny. We're going to change destiny. They're going to change destiny. It's that back and forth. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, a character named Destiny pops out of nowhere, and she's like, "What's up?"
And then she has
Destiny's Child comes out. Yeah, Destiny's Child comes out. Beyonce hits us with some very powerful Beyonce realness.
No. It's just that the bad guys are Bungie, and they really got to push out the latest patch to their hit online game.
Oh, that's right.
You gotta change Destiny, guys.
You gotta change Destiny.
Yeah.
It's got a big bug.
Yeah.
And that's how we got Destiny too.
Yep. This is just guerrilla marketing for Destiny 2.
That started really
25
early.
years in the past. Yeah.
It's also time travel stuff.
Yeah.
In real life.
Yeah, of course. So we cut back to Usagi, Haruka, and Michiru, who are outside the hospital. They're talking about searching the town to see what's going on, and then Hotaru shows up. Haruka tells her to GTFO and go back to bed. Michiru's like, "But Haruka," and Haruka's like, "Ugh, fine." Which turns out to be a bad idea because Hotaru only has 12 freaking HP.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Hotaru sucks ass.
She sucks so bad. She's my one-hit killer now, but getting her past level 1 was the hardest thing I've done in a video game in a very long time.
Yeah, I only had a few items that could heal within a reasonable amount of her HP, not 300 HP or whatever.
Right, you don't want to waste that shit on her.
Yeah, that was really dumb. And so she almost died. She died once, and then after that it was fine, but it was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird thing about this game is so up until this point, I think it should be mentioned, you've only had scripted battles.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't had any random battles up until this point. Well, when you're on the train, you have battles that come
You
out
have
of
a
nowhere,
couple, but those are
random.
scripted on the train.
Yeah.
They're scripted, they just come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But see, this is the first part of the game where you get actual random battles, and I got a misconception for this game because the first random battle I got fucking annihilated me. Not, I didn't have to, but here's the thing: it was random because in that, it turns out the battles you most of the time run into just 1 or 2 enemies. But my first random battle happened to be 4 enemies.
Oh God!
And it was 1 of the weaker ones and 3 of the stronger ones.
Oh man!
So I'm like, oh my God, is this how this game is going to be? But then every other random battle that I got into was just 1 enemy or maybe 2. So it just so happened the first random battle was like, yeah, you're going to get absolutely destroyed. And also, just like Rizzo, I did not realize that at this point that the MP regenerated every single battle. So I'm like, oh, I can't use these spells. I'm going to need them, especially if the battles are all going to be this hard. After I got past the first battle, I realized the game isn't hard at all. But yeah, it was rough.
Yeah. So I feel now is a good time to talk about how I was playing this game. So up until yesterday, I had been playing on my PSP because I just finished moving and still don't have internet access at this point. I'm using Discord on my phone to record, but so I knew I wouldn't have like access to my computer. So I'm like, oh, I'll play it on my PSP. But the PSP emulator isn't very good, and every time a voice sample would be used, it would freeze for like 30 seconds. And so each random battle, like each battle, your when you use a move, you call out the move, which as a design thing was awesome to like hear the anime coming from your screen, especially on the Super NES. You very rarely had voice clips at all, and for there to be this many in the game was super awesome. Unfortunately for me, that meant like about 14 times in each random battle, my game would freeze for 30 seconds, and then on top of that, the encounter rate is a little too high in this game. Like you get like one block down the street and you're in another fight, and then the map is huge. So like my whole like Monday at work, I would get on break. I would walk 5 blocks. I would get into a battle. I would set my PSP down. I would surf Twitter on my phone until my PSP was ready, and then I would finish that battle, and I would get like 2 battles done per break at work.
Gosh.
It was it was super rough. I then put it on my computer, and everything was like perfectly fine. But like playing it on my PSP was really rough.
Maybe for you also said there was a long delay in getting into battles. Maybe the Sailor Scouts in your game just needed more time to change their clothes.
Yeah, they were doing their actual transformation sequences.
They're supposed to transform, off screen during the split-second screen transition, but in yours they were just lazy, and they're like, we can't do it that fast. We need at least 2 minutes.
Yeah. So this is where we get to our grindy bits, because these monsters are only giving 1 XP per. And until you level up Uranus, Neptune, and Saturn a bit, they suck. Yeah. They suck very hard. So I did some grinding to get them up to level 6 so that they were on par with the other Guardians.
Yeah. With my, like, looking around the town taking so long, I accidentally grinded like crazy. And so I think, like, this set of 4 are all at, like, level 10. And stuff like that. Wow. Because like I didn't know where to go, and because I had only been able to do like 1 battle per break, I couldn't remember when they had told me where to go, and so I was like looking at maps, and then the map that I looked up online labeled both Mugen Academy and the elementary school where you're actually supposed to head. Both just called them school, so I went to the opposite side of Tokyo and got there and met a locked door. Whoops. And I'm like, God dang it! Then I had to go all the way back, and like that whole time took forever, and then gave me a boatload of experience. So I think I'm pretty grinded out for the rest of the game.
While we're sharing, I'm going to share my experience real quickly as well, just as a tip for anyone who might be listening and looking for tips. I made a beeline to the next plot point every single time. And my characters were low level, but here's the thing, the bosses are really easy, so grinding, at least so far, is 100% unnecessary.
Yeah. So far.
Maybe later that'll change, but just so you know, if you do want to not grind and just make a beeline, you can totally do that too.
Absolutely.
Well, at least by the time I got them leveled up enough, Uranus's world shaking was annihilating everything.
Yeah.
I also changed their formation. I changed their formation around so Saturn was in the back. Because that's going to mean she's hit less and takes less damage. So we head toward Usagi's house. Even though the game doesn't tell us to do that, that's where we're supposed to go.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's sort of about exploring. It's sort of about, checking out the open world and stuff like that. So it doesn't have you on rails, which is cool.
I think it was somebody mentions to head back to Usagi's house. Like it, that.
So someone does, because I made a beeline there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall it being mentioned, but you may be correct.
Yeah.
So we head inside and we find Usagi's little brother Shingo being chased around by the Grim Reaper.
Grim Reaper.
Yeah. Well, it turns out it's not actually the Grim Reaper. That's just this overworld sprite.
Yeah.
It's another resurrected Yoma.
Mm-hmm.
We kick its ass, or rather, Rennis kicks its ass.
Yeah.
And then we head back outside and get a call from Luna to go back to the shrine. So then we go back to the shrine, fighting a lot of monsters on the way, which helps with, grinding and stuff. Artemis, who is Sailor Venus's cat, he's white, tells us that the enemies have come through the space-time doorway, which is understandable if we're following the anime storyline because Sailor Pluto's fucking dead, as I explained earlier.
Okay,
she's not there to protect it.
I was expecting her to pop up in the scene, like her to say that instead of Artemis, because I had no idea that she was dead.
Yeah, when they said that, they were like, they came through the space-time doorway. I was like, was it that easy? Didn't someone stop them? Because I didn't realize who was supposed to be guarding it. I was just like, wow, y'all just leave the space-time doorway just chilling and anyone can just come through it? This sounds bad.
They go up to the space-time doorway and knock a couple of times. There's no answer, so they just try the doorknob, and they're like, I guess it was open. Yeah. Pluto's not good at setting passwords. Look, she's really, really old. She can't keep track of that much.
Bad info.
So, since it is Pluto's job to protect the doorway, she was executed for committing the ultimate time sin. Mm-hmm. There's no one there now, so of course people would be able to get through it. So Artemis tries to show a hologram of Usagi in a onesie, but it freezes, or does it? The hologram starts talking to them and calls herself Opposite Sin, which I was like, so virtue, which is the opposite of sin?
Right.
Sin being the goddess of the moon in Mesopotamian.
Okay, I thought it was just like edgelord, just like, yeah, my name's Sin.
My name's
That's
Sin.
what I thought it was too.
Opposite Sin, X, Dracula,
one wing.
Violence.
Yeah, Sin is the Mesopotamian moon goddess.
Okay, then that makes perfect sense.
Yes, exactly. So she explains again that destiny is going to be changed. They're adding an expansion. She then shows us that she has the other guardians and Chibiusa captive and tells us to come to Juban Junior High. Sailor Moon's like, we need to go! And Luna's like, it's a trap, because she's channeling Admiral Akbar. Neptune says we should learn about the enemy first, and Uranus and Saturn are like, fuck that, we can take them. Neptune just kind of shrugs and goes along with everybody else. So we head over to the school. The onesie team is talking about how the Guardians are holding up, and apparently they have them trapped inside illusions. Mm-hmm. So we go into the school. We go through
illusions, Michael.
Yeah, we go through. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just about to finish the quote that Michael had said. I decided against it.
Okay, great. So we go through each of the classrooms. The first one we find, Mercury is being held captive by a monster that we kick its ass. Mm-hmm. She's dreaming about being a doctor.
And having a husband that loves her.
Yes.
And they've been married for a while because it's their anniversary, and it was really cute.
Yeah. And in Sailor Moon, Mercury's parents are divorced, so it stands to reason that she would dream about being married, like in a committed relationship with someone and that sort of thing. Mars in her dream is being a creep and dreams about stealing Mamoru.
This is what I was mentioning earlier, when it's like they have a rivalry in the original anime that's toned down like crazy in the manga and Crystal, but like in the anime it's like everything that Moon says, Mars will just be like, yeah, but blah 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 blah. And so the fact that her dream was to steal Mamo was amazing.
Yeah. Well, in the first season of Sailor Moon, before they find out that Mamoru is Tuxedo Mask, Rei and Mamoru actually do go out together for a little while.
Oh, that's weird.
It is really weird. But I hated that. Manga Mars is just way better than the original anime Mars. So I really like this next one. We find Jupiter, and the monster starts monologuing. So we try to sneak Jupiter away.
Yep. I thought that maybe we were going to get away with actually having to fight it, which would have been hilarious. But sadly, we still have to fight it.
The monster's just like, oops, well, you got to fight me now. Like, chases after us.
So Jupiter's dream, I thought, was so sad. So Jupiter's, like, main thing is she's really, really tall and really athletic, and guys are into, like, petite, cute girls, is at least how she says it. And so her dream, like, the best thing she could think ever happening to her is the guy that's like, well, I'm the only guy that's taller than you. I'm the only guy that will ever like you, so we might as well get together. Like, settling for that is her wildest dream.
Her wildest dream is being negged by some punk.
Yeah. Which is, like, so sad for her. But, like her main thing in the anime is, like, Sailor Moon is, like, so nice to her and says that she's so pretty and all of that that stuff. And so, like, that's why they're such close friends. Like, actually in the Sailor R movie, like, that's a big plot point, is that they remember that Sailor Moon was nice to her, and Jupiter thinks back to, like, that moment when she's like, oh my god, I love your earrings, like, they're so they look so good, they make you look so pretty, or whatever. And so, like, just seeing that at this point Jupiter's big, like, wildest dream is just to have somebody be like, well, what other choice do you have? It's like, so sad.
Was Sailor Moon actually nice, or when she saw the earrings, was she like, wow, is this amazing how you can wear anything?
No, Sailor Moon was genuinely nice about it. She was genuinely nice.
She wasn't being Regina George, like, oh my god, I love your skirt, where'd you get it? That is the ugliest effing skirt I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh. So I think there actually was one more of these little dream scenes, and I only bring it up because the one that we're missing, I think, was my favorite one.
Yeah.
Venus, yeah.
Yeah, is that one? Oh, there it is. Yeah, okay. I see it written down. So if I recall, okay, I want to say how I understood this because I don't know anything about the show, so I might have read it wrong, which is hilarious. What I read was that I love how low-key it is. It's like one person dreams of being a successful adult with a career and a husband. One person dreams of stealing away this man. But Venus literally just her, like, wildest dream is working up the courage to send somebody a letter. Like, that's it. That's as far as you got in your wildest fantasy, is you worked up the courage to send someone a love letter and told them you like them.
So that would be the Sailor Moon layperson's interpretation.
Yeah, so what actually happened here?
So what actually was happening was a throwback to Codename Sailor V and the first episode of Sailor Moon, actually. So in the first episode of Sailor Moon, Usagi she sees the Sailor V video game, and she hears about Sailor V being a secret agent for the police. And she's like, wow, Sailor V is so cool. I want to be like Sailor V. In Sailor Venus's dream, she has swapped places with Usagi. Yeah. Usagi is the first Sailor Senshi, and the Hikaru who Venus is talking to was her friend from Codename Sailor V, and Minami was the guy that she had a crush on. So she is imagining that Sailor Moon was the first guardian and not herself, which makes a lot of sense because there was a ton of fucking pressure put on Venus. Yeah. And, like, it was really, really difficult for her. She was 13 at the time. She was all on her own with nothing but a cat. And she didn't have anyone to rely on. She had to rely on herself. And it took a toll on her. It was heavy. Really, really hard on her. Yeah. And
she's literally thinking she wasn't the chosen one.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
There was this big, like, dichotomy where everyone was like, oh my god, Sailor Moon, you're the chosen one. You have to do all of the stuff to save us, but we don't know how to get there. Hey, you've had, like, 3 years experience on all of us. Tell us what to do, Sailor Venus. And she's like, look, I just came here from London. Like, I don't know shit.
Yeah.
So the whole letter thing, was that just what that was had already that was also a throwback to something that happened earlier?
Yeah. She was
okay.
Yeah, in Codename Sailor V, she had wanted to go out with Minami, and she had written a letter, and she was getting ready to send it to him.
Yeah,
gotcha. So it's not what happened, but rather who was doing it. That is the point of the
dream.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But it is like seeing it through your eyes. Like it is really
great.
funny. Their greatest dream is to get up the courage to send a love letter.
Well, especially because the other ones all were guy centric as well. You know,
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, it has to do with the boys she likes.
Yeah, because
That's a lot of the anime.
with that reading, it would be like in like opposite order of like healthy relationships to unhealthy relationships in that way, because it'd be like, oh, I want to be like married and have all this stuff with a guy. I want to be a side girl. And then I want a guy to neg me, and then I want to send a letter to a guy to maybe reject me.
Yeah, there's the anime and manga differ a lot in that regard, because in the original anime, like they're all like super boy crazy. They all want boyfriends. In the manga, Venus and Jupiter really like guys, but they're not as boy crazy. Mars hates men because of her father being a douchebag, and Mercury's just kind of ambivalent. She's got other shit to worry about.
Yeah, in Crystal, like Mars's entire thing is she's like, look, I run this shrine. I have religious duties to do all the time. I can't go and like deal with your bullshit today. She also has magic powers without being a Sailor Scout. Like for some reason, like her religious stuff is like incredibly real and incredibly magic and incredibly like, well, let me just expel these demons without even going into my Sailor Mars form. Which is pretty cool.
They all kind of have powers outside of being senshi, because Makoto at one point gets sick and she like holds an electrical charge. And so like Masanuma Asanuma, not Masanuma, Asanuma in the manga touches her at one point when she's sick, and he gets shocked. Oh, that's like cool. More than a static shock. Like he gets like legit shocked, and she's like, "You may not want to touch me right now." Y'all,
the show is buck wild.
Yeah, Mercury is really Ami is really smart because she's Mercury.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're all kind of cheating in a little bit of a way. But like in the manga, like their devotion to Sailor Moon is so great that they decide that they're not going to have boyfriends. They're not going to focus on their own relationships, because they all feel kind of essentially like they're in a relationship with Sailor Moon. It's a very, very gay show in manga. It's wonderful. I love how gay it is.
I like boys, but now it's about justice.
Yeah, exactly. So we snap Venus out of it. She tells us to head to the roof because that's where they have Chibiusa. We get there. They tell us to hand over the silver crystal in exchange for Chibiusa. Everyone says no, and Sailor Moon's like, "It's my beautiful crystal. I do what I want."
It's like, you're so stupid. What? Just don't. It's not that hard. She's like, "No, I'm going to do it."
This is not the first time she's done something like this.
I think someone even says like, "It's a trap," and she's like, "I know. Here, you can take the crystal."
Because she said that, I was like, oh, she has a plan. What's her plan? And her plan was to give them the crystal and get Chibi back.
Yeah. Well, she had done this like it was longer than this, but I'm going to exaggerate. She'd done this like 5 minutes prior with the moon chalice. She handed it over to Mistress Nine, even when Uranus and Neptune are like, "Don't, you fucking moron, don't give that to them." And so history is again repeating itself, and they're both like, "What are you doing? Why do you keep doing this?"
Well, the funny thing is the way it's written, or at least the way it's translated, is like, she doesn't even say like, "No, I have to." Like, they explain why she shouldn't, and she acquiesces. She's like, "Yeah, y'all are making some good points." And it's like, "So are you not going to do it?" "No, I'm still going to do it."
No, I'm going to do it.
Haven't we all known people like that, where they're making a bad life decision, and you tell them, and they're like, "That makes sense," and then they just do it anyway. You're like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah. It's that. Yeah, it's absolutely that. That's Usagi in a nutshell. Like, don't do this bad thing. Okay, I shouldn't do that bad thing, but here I go doing it. Yep. So, thankfully, the onesie team is dumb enough to hand over Chibiusa first, and then Tuxedo Mask shows up to do, not so much save the day, but provide ample distraction.
And so at first I thought he was going to actually do something, because
that's your first mistake,
right? So Usagi grabs Chibiusa and is like holding her close, and they're just like, "Well, now we're going to kill you all or whatever. And so then down comes the Rose, down comes Tuxedo Mask, and he like puts his cape like over them to protect them. And I'm like, oh, awesome! Like he's going to protect them. And then fucking Saturn just is like, what? And walks out in front and gets blasted by him.
We haven't gotten there yet. We haven't gotten there quite yet because Sin goes back to blabbing more about changing fate.
Oh, okay.
And then we get an illusion for Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the illusion. Yeah.
Yeah, they're being shown illusions as their future as husband and wife. And it's
like immobilizes them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just standing there basically drooling, and Chibiusa comes over and smacks the shit out of them to wake them up.
Okay.
Because that's what you do when you're 3 feet tall and can't get their attention any other way. So the onesie team, this is where they jump back, they do an AoE attack, and yeah, Tuxedo Mask, I said it's an AoE attack that wouldn't have actually hit anyone, but Tuxedo Mask isn't that bright and blocks Sailor Moon, which causes him to get clipped by it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he gets hit. Sailor Saturn, for whatever reason, jumps in to try and help, but she has the lowest HP of anyone and easily gets KO'd by a blast.
Yeah.
It's basically that Tuxedo Mask's like, I'm going to jump in front of everyone and save everyone. And then Saturn's like, no, I'm going to jump in front of everyone and save everyone. And it's like, oh, Sailor Moon has the most HP. She should obviously... Did you not pay attention to the battle formation?
Right.
If anyone's supposed to be taking this hit, it should be Sailor Moon.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention, there was a part I left out earlier, because there's a bit where Mamoru has a dream about his Shitenno, who had been the generals for Queen Beryl after she possessed them, but they were originally his guardians. They were his sailor team.
Yeah.
But they talk about destiny being changed. It's the same bullshit that you hear through the rest of this. Destiny's being changed.
Yeah. But no, this happens later. This happens after the opposite team leaves.
It happens before with Mamoru, but then they show up again. That's why I mentioned it.
Okay,
they do show up
a
again.
Foreshadowy cutaway scene.
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot about the cutaway.
Yeah. There's a lot of those random cutscenes that show up that you could easily forget about.
Yeah. Because the moral of them is destiny is being changed.
Yeah. So we take Mamoru back to his apartment. Hotaru goes back to the hospital where she, frankly, should have stayed in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Haruka and Michiru lament that they couldn't protect... Why did I write the game? I meant the king. They couldn't protect the game. They couldn't protect the king.
They couldn't protect Destiny too.
Yeah. Which actually isn't their job. And usually they don't care if that's not a part of their job and their personal MO. So I'm not sure why they're torn up about this, but whatever. So we go to the living room. The Shitenno show up again. Mm-hmm. They explain that they're Endymion's guardians because everyone's like, "What? We thought you were Queen Beryl's minions." And they're like, "Nope. That was a mistake. That was because she possessed us because we're weak.
Things change.
Suck." Yeah. So they tell the Sailor Guardians about these light and dark stones that need to be brought together because RPG reasons.
Yeah. This definitely sounded like you need a quest, don't you? So
yeah, here's a quest. So in the generals are named Jadeite, Zoisite, Nephrite, and Kunzite, which are all stones. Mm-hmm. So they have a dark version of their stones and a light version of their stones, and they give them each of the dark stones and then tell them that the light versions of the stones, I don't know how they know this, are in Switzerland, Nepal, Canada, and Turkey. Mm-hmm. So that's where we need to head to. Mercury decides to go to Switzerland, Mars is going to go to Nepal, Jupiter's going to go to Canada, and Venus is going to go to Turkey. Mm-hmm. And that's the end of the chapter. We're going to be heading over to Switzerland next.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? We just started as Girl Scouts, and now we're going to Switzerland.
Right?
Yeah, I know.
Can you believe it?
I know this is technically chapter 2, but I've just got to share the very first thing that happens in chapter 2 because it's just such a bizarre transition. Literally, they're like, let's go on an adventure. And then it cuts to black. Says chapter 2. The screen lifts and fades back up, and literally it's Sailor which one's the one with the
Mercury.
Mercury.
Yes, I actually did know it. Should have just said it. It's literally Senator Mercury on top of a mountain, and she goes, "Wow, this is Europe's tallest mountain. It's pretty high." And I'm just like, we just like skipped so much. Like we just went from black screen to like, well, I'm on top of the mountain. I'm on top of the mountain now. I'm like, cool.
I've done it. I climbed this mountain. Yeah,
that's great.
Don't have to bother with the mountain dungeon.
Yeah.
So, what did everybody think?
I really liked it. So, at first, I thought I was going to be let down by it, and I don't know why. And like the first like little bit of it, it felt like the hyper cheesy like middle of the road not good RPGs that I've played for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it's okay, like I'll get through it, and like I can like all the references to the show I'll enjoy and everything, but like as a game I'll probably just max X to win. And that like changed after you got the second party, and I was like, oh well, I'm having to like actually heal and like use AoEs when I need to, and use single targets when I need to, and like the battle system, even though like it's really easy, it's like surprisingly deep as well, because like I'm having to think all of these things about it. I don't even have like the links, or like half the icons on my screen don't do anything yet because I haven't gotten that power up later on or whatever. And so it's like surprisingly good as an RPG and not just as a fun way to spend 15 hours with Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
I love the graphics. It's really gorgeous. I do think that I like the graphics more when I was looking at screenshots, because it is definitely a lower budget game. So it looks beautiful, but it's not particularly animated. That's what I'm saying. Like, you look at the screenshots, you're like, wow, graphics. And then you see it in motion, and you're like, it's a little lower budget. But I mean, the
biggest, like, the most that they spent on the animation budget was for the Sailor Senshi themselves, and I think that was the right move.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They're the main attraction.
Their attacks all look really beautiful.
Yeah, like all of the budget of this game was in the battle engine. Like outside it's like bleh, but inside everything is animated well. There's so much voice acting in your random battles, like PS2 RPG levels of voice acting in your battles.
Those are all the original voice actresses too, by the way.
I figured why, like, that's the point, right? So yeah. Even though I didn't personally recognize them, I understood why that was a good thing and why I would be excited about it if I was a Sailor Moon fan in the 90s.
Yeah.
It also, so like the level design, everything's just so big and open. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
And the battle system is like whatever. As we've talked about in the chat, I'm glad that the game makes extreme use of cursor memory, which is real nice, especially if the battle's easy enough to beat in like one turn. So like, last time I fought the bad guys, I just had two of them do AoEs, one of them attack the stronger of the two monsters, and the fourth one just do a normal attack. I hold down A, and they all do the same thing, and it wins the battle, and it was real nice. I mean, if your battle's not going to be super interesting, at least make me be able to beat it really quickly. But the fact that I could beat it using cursor memory, it actually felt like I was doing something, because it's not like I'm holding down A, and it's not like I'm mashing attack. I'm mashing A on these things that I already picked beforehand because I decided that this would be a good general all-purpose strategy.
Right.
It's almost like sort of the same feeling as like the Gambit from FF12. It's like, I just held down A and beat it in one turn, but I did that because of this idea that I had 2 battles ago. Which is cute. That's all. The difficulty of the battles oscillates wildly, but I don't care. It's whatever. The game is real tight. The music could be better. The music is just like medium.
It'll get better.
So I really love the battle theme when I was playing on my computer at full volume, but on my PSP at work, like work is kind of busy, the speakers aren't that loud. The only thing I could hear is like the little flourishes of the flute because it was the highest notes, which are just the da-da, da-da, which is really bad. And I was like, why does everyone in the chat love this battle theme and thinks it's so great? And then I heard it on my computer with like the groovy bass line and like the rest of the song, and I'm like, oh, this is actually good. Like,
if you're only getting the treble, it's a lot worse.
It's way worse than the treble.
Both battle themes are very good. and one of the cutscene tunes is real good. But then some of the song that plays for like 10 straight minutes during the opening when you don't touch the button when you turn the game on cutscene gets real old.
And then the something spooky this way comes music while you're exploring in chapter 1. That one. Cut it out. Just give me silence.
But yeah, I mean, it's whatever. They can all be winners. So far, I think the game is sick as hell.
Yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
What about you, Rizzo?
I didn't think it was going to be a bad RPG. I didn't know what to expect, really. Like, I just didn't. I like how it throws you in a story that you're assumptively supposed to know.
I agree. That's a great thing.
I do. I think that's a good thing, really, for the people who watch it, because it's a fan service. And I don't know. I think it's like bright. It's a very pretty, bright game, and so I don't think anything really bad of it. I think that Sam's right. I think that the encounter rate is a bit too high. And I think that's my only complaint right now about it. I'm really kind of eager to see where it takes me, because it's a Sailor Moon RPG. So, I'm excited. Go ahead.
And speaking of like where it goes, like so far, like this first chapter was just the the shoe leather of like, why are we facing old things again? And like already when they're like, oh, you have to go and get these stones and go on this quest, it already feels like a completely different game. Like this first one wasn't really a chapter 1; it was like a prologue. Like, oh, this is just like, we have to tell you these things so that you can go on your actual quest. And now the quest is starting, and it already seems like it'll be like way better. And I'm like really excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, and at this point, we already know who the villains are, what their goal is, and what essentially we have to do to stop them. AKA, we actually know what the game is even about, which is more than I can say for the first 4 chapters of Rogue Galaxy. The first 6 chapters of Rogue Galaxy.
Yeah, exactly.
Love to understand what the plot of the game is.
Yeah. Even if they over-explained on this one, at least they explained it.
I definitely know that Destiny is being changed.
And then it's not like the Opposito soldiers showed up and they're just like, sorry, we're taking a nap. We'll tell you the plot in 6 chapters.
This is a throwback, but I just realized the fact that the captain of the ship of the Jordan Go doesn't show up for 1,000,000 years, I think is actually just supposed to be a reference to Moby Dick. Because that happens in Moby Dick. You get on the ship and
really?
And the character Captain Ahab doesn't actually, he's in his cabin, like basically being a crazy person and brooding for like weeks. And then he finally comes out of the ship, and even though he's literally the captain, and that's when like the plot of the book starts. So it's still weird, but I'm like, oh, then maybe they were referencing that extremely famous work of literature where something similar happens.
I wish we would have fought a space whale instead of, if they wanted to reference it, we could have fought a space whale instead of not knowing the plot for 12 hours of video game.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you guys are liking it so far. I will say the reason that a lot of the music sounds the way it does is because it's at least emulating the music from the original anime. Which is not
a lot of it doing that?
It's not. It may not be exactly the same, but it's very similar to that.
So there's one track that's like the everything track in the original anime, and that's the one that plays in the background of the cutscenes, which I really enjoyed. That
just
that
like
track.
The basic upbeat things are happening track.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I can hear that being in an anime now. Yeah.
Yeah. I have the full soundtrack as MP3s on my computer. So I can send those to you guys. The music for Sailor Mercury that's coming up, I really like.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Like, so far, none of the music has been bad enough where I'm like, I'm gonna play this game on mute. But like, some of it just like is the Juraika stuff where it's like I can't spend multiple chapters with this going on.
Right.
Or it's just like regular. I'm just like ambivalent. Which as a huge music guy, I don't want to be ambivalent about music. I want to be like not playing the game because I'm listening to the music.
That's fair. That's fair. So I believe that about does it for the week.
Yeah.
So if you like what you hear and you want to help us cover hosting costs and game costs, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/rpgbookclub. If you want to talk to us, we have Twitter at rpgbookclub, an email at rpgbookclub@gmail.com, and our favorite, our Discord, which doesn't have a catchy URL, so you can find a link in the description. Join us next week when we will play through Chapter 2 that I have forgotten the name of. Oh god, where did I put it?
Oh,
it's just something like collecting the balls or something, or the Dragon Balls. It's just a very descriptive title. It's not
In Search of the Stones. That's it. Yeah. Collecting the balls in search of the stones. Yeah.
Collecting the balls, the name of your sex tape.
Awesome. For RPG Book Club, I have been Elias, Sailor Eli, Warren.
I have been Sam Allman.
Oh, it's me now. I've been Michael Spiffle-Webbin.
And I've been Michael Rodriguez.
Once again, so glad you're back.
Yes.
Yay.
We got the gang back together.
Woo!
Too bad.
About time.
Too bad you're level 1 and you're going to get wiped on
Right.
the first model.
No.
We gotta grind him up.
Rip.
All right. Love y'all. Bye.
Bye.
Toodaloo.